Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Lunch with Alsace. This is very exciting. My name is Stefanie Schwartz, and I am waiting for David to join me. We are going to be tasting some fantastic Alsatian wines today. I am so excited. Second.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. Thank you so much. I'm pretty good. I'm just making the setup about the camera. That's okay for you?
Good for me.
That's good. Perfect.
Where are you joining us from today? You're in the tasting room?
Yeah, it's the tasting room, and in the same time, it's our store. There is a lot of people are coming here, and I'm just behind the bar, if I can say.
Awesome.
That's
Cool.
good. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to welcome you here at home in Alsace, the fairy tale region. So I'm not really objective because I'm from here, you know. So, but I'm very glad to be here with you today.
I visited Alsace once. It was a very short trip over a decade ago. And yes, it is like a fairy tale.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
that's good. So, what's I'm sorry. It's just a bit. I don't hear a lot what you tell. Do you hear me? That's okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. So in the tradition of Lunch with Alsace, we are talking about, obviously, this beautiful fairy tale region of Alsace. Special guest today is David with the, please correct my pronunciation, it's probably going to be wrong, the Cave de Ribeauvillé. Is that right?
Cave de Ribeauvillé. You can say Cave de Ribeauvillé. Anyway, nobody will judge you.
Well, I'm always open to having all of my pronunciations corrected.
Okay. Yeah, the real name is Ribeauvillé.
Ribeauvillé.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
but Ribeauville or like us, we are. I'm working here and I'm living here. We say just the short of Ribeau. It's the same.
Okay, cool. All right, and so this is the oldest cooperative winery in France, founded in 1895.
Absolutely, yeah.
History.
Yeah. The company is really singular, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, 1895 here, exactly here, was Germany.
Oh, that's
Only
great.
so during the two last centuries, we went from Prussia to France, then German, then French, then German again, and French again. So not logically, now it's okay. And we were created in 1895, and it was really curious because it was 40 vine growers. They started this adventure to make everything together, and so they built a building and they hired a winemaker to make better things in the vineyard, and so someone very skilled in the cellar, and so that's interesting because for 126 years ago, it's the same families that are managing the company. So it's really like a family estate, but it's a family cooperative. And,
That's cool. It's like a group of
and it works pretty well because we were several times elected best winery of France in some German magazines, American magazines, Wine and Spirits. In 2014, we were elected, and in 16, the Revue des Vins de France. It's almost the Holy Bible of wine in France. We were elected in 2016 best winery of France.
Cool. Well, with all of that history of winemaking, it's not really a surprise, is it?
It is. We are really very lucky to be in Ribeauvillé, to be honest with you, because the town. Okay, it's a very nice town, but that's on the part. What Mother Nature gave us is the terroir. We are on a geological fault, and this fault is bringing us a lot of possibilities about aromas on the same wine, on the same grape variety, sorry, and that's why we. But I have to say it later during the tasting.
Well, we'll get into that later. So how did you become involved with the winery?
So I'm in charge of world export department for almost 5 years ago. And recently I obtained a new position added. I'm a director of sales, so worldwide. Then the store here, the web store as well, and it's a very nice challenge. I studied 6 years long about winemaking, and this year it's my 23rd year in the wine business. And so I joke very often with my clients. I said, I'm completely unable to sell nothing else. Wine, nothing else.
I understand that. I've been working with wine for so long, and you know, when you look at it, it's a product and you can sell product, but wine is just, I'm much more passionate about wine than anything else. So why sell it?
It is really, the patient is probably the best thing possible to do. I'm very lucky. We are very lucky. All my colleagues in Alsace or in France or worldwide, that if they can have a job, but a dreaming job, and enjoying this dreaming job, it's almost too much luck compared to others people. And so I know that I'm lucky, so I say it. And that's why my enthusiasm and my passion, I want to share it as much as possible with everybody. It could be a client or the neighbor or anyway. We are selling joy in bottle. So
oh, I love that, joy in a bottle. I love that. With looking at sales, out of curiosity, how did the last year and a half affect sales? Did you see any trends?
Sorry, I just had someone who spoke there, and so I didn't understand what you said. Excuse me, could you repeat, please?
Any trends in sales over the past year and a half with with the pandemic and everything happening?
We changed a bit about our clients were really very smart enough to change a bit the habits and to make some new proposal. So some of our clients, they started to have a business about direct to consumer. Okay. So with delivery, so like web stores, they developed something very, very quickly. About the pandemic, it was really, to be honest with you, we cannot say we are pretty lucky about the business despite the pandemic. After some clients, they suffered more than others. Yeah, it's not fair. I agree. But a lot of clients, to be honest, I did not lose any clients. All still alive. So I'm very, very lucky. And I try to help them as much as possible for a lot of things, about invoices, about support, about a lot of things. And they gave us a nice thanks to start to order just after the pandemic or while pandemic when they need it. Right. And yeah, the pandemic is probably the good excuse to have a new wave, or to take your courage with your two hands and just, I have to try something else. And in the US, honestly, all of my clients were really very efficient and courageous. They made a great job.
Good. That's really good to hear. Yeah. All right. So I don't know about you. It is after lunchtime, and I have some wine that
here in a few minutes it will be dinner time.
All right. So
Yeah,
and you have some wines to taste for dinner also.
I don't really need to have an excuse to eat to taste. So probably I love too much my job, but in the same time, tasting is always a joy. Yeah. So
we have a Cremant, we have a Riesling, and a Gewürztraminer.
Yeah, Gewürztraminer. Yeah.
So what's your favorite style of wine?
Dry wine. I love dry wines. Like a lot of people, when they try for the first time wines, if it's a dry white wines, it will be too acidic because taste buds are not used to have this kind of pain for some.
Right.
But to have the good flavors and to enjoy a wine while a meal, before a meal or after a meal, if it's too sweet, sweetness come here, and when it's done, it's done. It's impossible to swallow something more.
Right.
So like a lot of people, when they try for the first time wine, it's really easier to try something medium sweet or sweet. So, and progressively you come, and everybody I know, they started with sweet and then to switch on dry wine. And my favorite wine is white dry wine. Yeah.
Mine too. I love dry white wines and sparkling wine.
Sparkling is almost a religion here.
Which on that, I went ahead and poured myself a little bit of our Cremant.
I have this on the white, and we will try the rosé one, of course.
I'm very excited. I love Cremant. Well, as any somm does, of course I love champagne, but I also love Cremant, and I think that the category of Cremant is such a fantastic way to get the top quality sparkling wine, fraction of the price of champagne, and equally delightful.
And after I'm wine producer here in Alsace, and for me, I'm not living in this region between Alsace and Paris. In the middle, you have a very famous region called Champagne. And for me, it's very scaring to use this word because I'm producing something in the way with exactly the same process used to make champagne, but it's not champagne because not made there, of course.
Right.
And but it's something so interesting, so nice, so appreciated everywhere, because Cremant was born something like 50 years ago, something like this. It's not very, very old. I just opened my bottle. And but we are using the same process, so I told you. So it's called méthode traditionnelle, so the traditional method. So for people are joining us, méthode traditionnelle means a second fermentation inside the bottle. We don't add CO2, we don't add anything, and like there in Champagne. But it's a very, very nice, economically alternative to have a prestigious sparkling wine. And that's the reason of the success of Cremant worldwide.
Yes. This is my first taste of wine for the day, and that is just delightful. This is 100% Pinot Noir, correct?
Absolutely. 100% Pinot Noir, and in Alsace. So Alsace region, I'm sorry, I will say very often in Alsace we have to, because we have a lot of rules, and the rules in Alsace are completely different than others region in France. So in Alsace, to make a rosé, it's forbidden to blend a white and a red, and you cannot play with two tanks to make the good color. If your maceration is too long, okay, new player, insert coin, new game. So that's why it's very dangerous rosé to have always the same color, because we cannot play with different tanks. So so rosé, it's the Pinot Noir, because it's the only grape variety on
it's the only
in Alsace, red wine in Alsace. All others grape varieties are white, and so it's the only grape variety allowed to grow in Alsace region. And how do you feel this nose? Because I'm not objective.
I think it's really pretty. Some beautiful, delicate floral notes. For Pinot Noir, there's always some kind of red berry for me, some cherries, raspberry, strawberry. For me, it's a little bit more on the tart side of the berries, like maybe a slightly underripe strawberry, more raspberry over cherry for me. And I really like the texture. The bubbles they're soft, they're delicate, they just dance right across the palate.
It's a brut, very dry, but the acidity is round enough to not make pain, and to don't have any hurting on taste buds. It's a wine, for me, I completely agree about the cherry. Almost the stone cherry, you know what I mean? The taste of the stone of cherry, that brings sometimes this almond aromas sometimes, and it's really very easy to drink. The foam and the bubbles, they still very long in the bottle, and on the palate, it's still. If the glass is almost too clean, you don't have any bubbles, but on mouth.
And that color is gorgeous. How long is the maceration?
Maceration is a short one. It's only 4 or 5 hours, not more. Yeah. It depends some years. This year, we are in the middle of harvest now here. It's pretty late, because Mother Nature wasn't really very kind with us this year, and sometimes we have to go to 6 or 7 hours, but more after it's too much. It's too deep. The color is too deep, and for a lot of clients, a lot of partners, it's too deep, and they don't want it anymore. So. More, we should have a bit of bitter as well, so it's just the good color, and then fermentation, and then you know the process.
We ferment, we do some aging, we add some tirage, we let it chill for a bit longer.
It's
fine.
Absolutely. And so and it's mandatory to keep so on lease 12 months before disgorgement. So this is 12 months. So it's just at least. We need 12 months, but nobody can. It's not forbidden to make more. I have we produce other créments with 24 months, and another one with 95 months. It's almost 8 years.
Cool.
But it's more to have a rounder things. But this crément d'Alsace rosé is really how to say that in English? What's interesting with rosé is the color is not so common. So for a special event on a very nice tablecloths, a white one, the bubbly sparkling on a white tablecloth, it brings something more uncommon, and so more special. Bubble and rosé, that's something very interesting.
Yes, and I like the visual that you're giving with having glasses of pink sparkling wine on white tablecloths, because for me it's more appealing to my eye. Like that's something that I want to look at more than white wine, white sparkling wine on a white tablecloth. It's visually a little bit more appealing.
Yeah. It's to say about this wine, about this Pinot Noir on sparkling. I completely agree what you say anyway, but everybody will have a good experience about this this kind of can you hear the noise? That's a tractor just outside.
Bringing grapes in from harvest?
It's 20 meters from the door, and it just opened, and it's outside. A tractor was just on that. So yeah, it's really interesting. Anyway, Crémant d'Alsace in the mind, Crémant d'Alsace started to be renowned. No, it's pretty young, I could say. In the world, some people, they start to have the notion of that's something pretty good. It's not a prosecco, but it's in the way that in a champagne, but it isn't as well. So it's really a very nice alternative, honestly. And Crémant does exist. How I told you, it's not very old, but in the same time, now Crémant, the market share of Crémant for the region start to be really huge, very huge.
Awesome.
And so it's a very nice things for the region anyway.
So sparkling wine is always associated with like New Year's holidays, celebrations. But I think sparkling wine is a fantastic time any time of year, and and not just at the beginning of a meal or for a toast. What do you want to eat with this?
So it's a wine very easy to drink with some like oysters, mussels, how to say that, scallops, why not? Fresh scallops. Pickles, aperitif dishes like sausages, some Italian sausages, cutted, nice salted.
Oh, that would be good.
That's interesting. So cold cuts, I could say, or nothing, just itself.
I like what you said about the cold cuts. Ooh, we have someone saying quiche. Quiche would be great.
Quiche, yeah, quiche.
It's like quiche with some caviar, and this would be killer.
It should. I agree. Effectively, it's not something easy to eat every day, but I agree completely. Yeah, yes, of course. Yeah. Anyway, something very salted.
Yeah.
With a sparkling Crémant. Anyway, with this fruit as well, a rosé or a white Crémant d'Alsace would be really very appreciated with how caviar or.
And what you're saying with cold cuts, I immediately thought about like making like a simple ham and cheese sandwich and having just a simple sandwich with this sitting in a park.
And anyway, wine is just an experience, and it's a taste bud experience. So nobody can judge someone if you like to drink a sauterne with a with a BLT sandwich.
Right.
If it's things, then it's only recommendations. And I think wine is to, it's I like or I don't like. That's for a lot of people. It should be enough for a lot of people. If sometimes in the wine business, we are using sometimes a very sharp vocabulary.
Right.
And some people, and especially in French, we use a lot of metaphoric terms, and sometimes it's difficult to understand for French people. Then wine, I like, I don't like, that's okay. If you cannot explain it why you like, that's good. You like it.
Right.
It's good. It's correct. And then my taste and your taste and my experience and your experience is so changing from the US, from New York or New Mexico. You're in the same, you go in Santa Fe and you stay in New York. Recipes and habits, eating habits are completely different. But in the same way, what's interesting is all people that like Crémant or tasted Crémant will be okay to say what you said. So something salted quiche with a bit of caviar, oysters or mussels, why not? Everything is possible. Right. But I agree what you said. And I'm starting to be hungry.
I'm starting to get hungry too. And I like what you said about some people saying, I like this, I don't like this. And I think one of the big things that as a somm, that's one of my questions that I like to ask, is if there's anything that the guests do not like, and if they can tell me why or why not, that's very helpful for me to help steer them to the appropriate wine on the list. And something to segue into our next wine, something that I hear a lot of times, like, oh no, I don't like Riesling because it's too sweet. It's like, okay.
That's the problem. That's the biggest problem of our region, honestly. And so it's it's a real battle. Yeah. And, Riesling in Alsace region and anyway, we'll taste the second one, the Riesling. And Riesling in Alsace is mandatory dry. We cannot have sweet Riesling, except, yes, because in French we love exceptions, late harvest.
Right.
So that's a process, like a process. It's very late harvest, so with a very concentration. A lot of sugar concentrated in grapes, but it's rare. It's difficult to produce. We don't know if this year we will be able to do it. And but yeah, Riesling is mandatory dry. Nothing's to see with some Riesling at 8 or 9 degrees of alcohol. You can find in Canada, or some German Rieslings are sweet as well. Not all, but others. And sometimes it's really difficult to explain to people, yeah, your experience about Riesling is a Riesling but for another region. And the most challenging thing is to make for people to change the mind. Changing mind is probably the most difficult things to do, and we are really focused on it. Please just taste, and it will be completely different what you already tasted. Riesling is dry here. I'm
with you on this crusade. There are delicious dry Rieslings, like this guy.
Yes, it is Riesling Osterberg.
Right, so we have a Grand Cru. All right, so the cru system in Alsace, we have 51 Grand Crus, but they're only 4% of the production.
It is.
What should we know about the Osterberg Grand Cru in this wine?
So Osterberg Grand Cru is one of the 3 Grand Cru we have in Ribeauvillé. So itself, that means we are really lucky on the one town, because Ribeauvillé is, on the paper, is a city, but it's only 5,000 people are living here. So it's a small town.
Mm-hmm.
So on this small town, we have 3 different Grand Cru fields. So the terroir, how I told you before, geological faults, on average, every half a mile, the soil, the terroir, the ground is completely different. And so Osterberg is the more the Grand Cru, the more in the north of our town, and you can hear Osterberg. Osterberg, from here, German influence. Osterberg means the eastern hill, but with an eastern view. So Osterberg, on the morning during summer, you'll have the sunshine comes very early, because 100% eastern view. That means during afternoon, early afternoon, we will have shadow earlier than somewhere else. So we can keep the freshness and the acidity better, because freshness, large difference temperature between the day and the night, we will keep better freshness, and minerality will appear earlier as well. And so it's an average size of Grand Cru. We own something like 10% or 15% of the Grand Cru here in Ribeauvillé, and it's always very early to have minerality. Minerality appear pretty early.
Now, as soon as you said, Osterberg meaning Eastern Hill, I feel like you could maybe like see the wheels turning and everything connecting. I'm like, oh, it faces the east. This is making a lot of sense to me now.
Everything here in Alsace. So German words and English words are very often very close and similar.
Yes.
So east is Ost, west is West. It's written exactly on the same thing. And Berg means a hill, not a summit, but a hill, a mountain, and that's why. And a lot of towns here, they mean something.
So this is delightful. Even for 2016, this is so vibrant and fresh. Oh, gosh, this is delightful. Sign me up with I need to order some sushi for this. Little spicy tuna roll.
It's straight. It's the acidity is really really sharp. We have something like less than 2 grams residual sugar, and I don't remember exactly, but something around almost between 5.5 and 6 grams acidity on total. So it's nice. The acidity is here, but it's sharp enough, elegant enough, and not hurting, because it's nice rounded.
Yeah, that is.
And the yield is like all Grand Cru in Alsace. Of course, the yield is really lower than the rest of the fields. Yeah. We are around 40 hectares, hectoliters by hectares. The yield.
And what I like about this, even though the acidity levels are high, there's low residual sugar, like none of that stands out to me. This is such a beautiful, balanced wine.
Excuse me?
Even though you're saying the acidity levels are pretty high and there's not a lot of residual sugar, it doesn't feel jarring at all. I think because you're still getting a lot of that sunshine, there's still a bit of opulence to the wine while it's just so vibrant and fresh, and it's very balanced. This is gorgeous.
It is, and honestly, the soil is clay limestone
Okay.
soil, and on this kind of fields every year, except an accident, it should be not happened, but we will have the same kind of line of aromas and power and minerality, and the Flintstone aromas will appear after 7 or 8 years. Every vintage will in the same way. Acidity is high, yes, of course, but then we are making a very important and tough effort in the vineyard to make the best every day. Honestly, our vine growers are really extremely involved. They don't have another job on the side. They are 100% involved about quality, and they are only 40, and these 40 since 126 years ago. They want, and sometimes they are pretty tough with us as well. They want just make better and better every year. So I'm really lucky to work here, because they want to make wine in a way like in a domain. We will be never a domain or an estate, I know, but that's why here we make a very tough plot selection, and we produce 13 Riesling different every year. Each plot every plot is separately harvested, only ripe, pressed, vinificated, bottled, and labeled. So it's really something completely different in our company. But in Alsace region, if you blend all fields in the same tank, you'll have a standard thing, and it will be never change. The vintage phenomenon will disappear. A lot of colleagues, a lot of winemaker are excited to try to have a better wine every year with this field, because this field is always more will provide more richness, or more power, or more acidity, and so they know every vine grower will know very nice each field. This one is very fragile. This one is different, and it's really like wizards. They know a lot of things everywhere. I speak about my vine growers, but it's the truth for all Alsatian vine growers or winemaker.
Yeah. Ah, wonderful. All right. So we have one more wine to taste. And now that I look at it, maybe we should have tasted this before the Riesling, but I don't know. What could
you recommend for you about the Riesling for pairing?
I'm immediately thinking sushi, but it's also because I just really want to have like a spicy tuna roll. I think something like that would be really beautiful. I love dried Rieslings, or even if you have a Riesling that's a little bit of residual sugar on it, I like that with spicier dishes. I would rock this also. I would take it with me to a BYO restaurant in K-Town here in New York. Because Riesling and like the spicy kimchi, when you get some of those sweeter flavors coming out in some of the marinades and in the bulgogis, all the meats in Korean barbecue, like, is this just fantastic? It's a fantastic pair.
I'm definitely hungry.
Me too.
I hear it, because if you are not hungry, you cannot find so dishes that can fit or match like this. That's good.
Right.
So for us here in for me and in France, but everywhere, Riesling with fishes in grilled or in sauce. That's something very interesting as well. I love this, but we love it with fish, with white meat as well. That's pork or veal, and turkey.
Ooh, good call.
Turkey. With turkey, it's really very, very nice because it will balance a lot of things. Sometimes turkey could be very heavy with a lot of potatoes or the mashing inside, and it balances a lot of things. Riesling with turkey is really very nice.
I think that is an excellent call. Now that we have my Thanksgiving wine figured out,
Good.
Our third wine for our little lunch.
It's so for the last wine we will taste together is Gewürztraminer. So
Gewürztraminer.
Quick.
The 2018 vintage.
Yep. Quick educating moment. In my dialect, Gewürz with the Z means spice. Okay? In German, you just have to put 2 points on the U, and it's Gewürz as well, means spice. This grape variety was created in a small town between Austria and Italy, and this town is called Tramine. And so the grape variety from Tramine was the Traminer, and so the spicy Traminer is the Gewürztraminer. So now a lot of people, they can pronounce it correctly after this.
Gewürztraminer. Cool. And I see, I saw this on the back of the Cremant label as well. There's a little scale on the back of here that shows you a general sweetness level. So this one, I haven't tasted it yet. I'm anticipating to actually feel some sweetness, some sugar on the palate.
On the French one, we don't have the scale. We just have here the brut.
Oh, cool.
Rules in France and somewhere else are different, you know.
Yeah. All right. So this is
Gewürztraminer.
Aromatic.
Gewürztraminer, yeah, is a very exuberant grape variety. It's smell. If someone smell once Gewürztraminer and have a good memory, he can recognize a Gewürztraminer everywhere, because everywhere there grows Gewürztraminer will have the same first notes. It's these spice.
So when I started learning about wine, you can read that Sauvignon Blanc will have some grapefruit notes in it all you want. But if you don't know what grapefruit is, you're not going to pick that up. So when learning about wine, always learned that Gewürztraminer smells like lychee. So I started I tasted Gewürztraminer a couple of times before I ever had a lychee, and then I had lychee and I go, oh, this is Gewürztraminer.
Yes, it is. But it's really weird. Why this grape variety smells so much something that grows on the other 10,000 kilometers from here. Yeah, it's really weird, but it's so real. It can smell rose, rose, pineapple sometimes after a few years, but it's definitely exotic. It's really very exotic. And in Alsace, you can find balanced or dry or half dry or half sweet. Or in my company, we try to make the most balance as possible. Sometimes it's more difficult than others. After we do how we can. And our enologist is a she, and she's extremely talented, and she's extremely involved in the Gewürztraminer. The most lush it is, the best it is.
Yeah.
So this wine. For some people, they don't want to have sweet wine. I agree, it could be difficult, but it depends if you pair it with something very, very dry and salted, and it balances pretty well.
This is fantastic. I would have this with some cured meat products.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Korean barbecue, but very, very strong. It's perfect. For a lot of people like me as well, the best pairing for me is so Asian food, of course, and cheese, strong cheese, blue cheese, smelly cheese.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Or like
it's really good.
Like a traditional English cloth-bound cheddar.
An old one, yeah. Or with old Parmesan, Parmigiano. It's very nice as well. So after, honestly, in the US, you get a lot of cheeses. If you come in France or in Europe, we have a lot of cheeses as well with fresh milk, and they will be extremely smelly. But a camembert who run alone out of the plate because he's too old, that's the best thing because it will taste of the camembert will break a bit, and the sweetness will be hidden by the other. So it's a nice balance of both.
So what I'm hearing is I need to come to Alsace and drink this wine and have some French cheese with you.
It's how to say that? You don't have any other choice than to come in here and to taste it directly in the situation.
As soon as I can, I am going to be on that flight.
Anyway, here in Alsace, I say it because we are at chat together. But if you come in Alsace, you can stop everywhere by all my colleagues, all vine growers, all estate or domain. You will be nice welcome because we love people here in Alsace. We are in the triangle area between Germany, Switzerland, and France.
Oh my God.
And we are used to have a lot of culture everywhere, and definitely welcoming people is something, it's written in our DNA. Someone is saying époisse here and bria savant. Yeah, I agree. Perfect. That's kinds of cheeses, very powerful cheeses. I can read the comments.
Right. So I am hungry. I am ready to actually go to lunch now. I'm going to definitely find some cheese.
Of course. Last thing about Gewürztraminer. It's a dessert wine as well, and it's matched perfectly with something with cinnamon. Cinnamon in Alsace region is we are almost in November, so in 2 weeks we'll start cinnamon flavors everywhere because we use a lot of cinnamon for all Christmas recipes. Okay. And Gewürztraminer with cinnamon, it matched perfectly as well. That's great. Or with chestnuts and everything.
All right.
Everything.
All right. We have my wines figured out for the rest of the year. It's going to be nothing but Cremant and Grand Cru, Riesling, and Gewürztraminer.
Anyway, we get a lot. We have so much other things in Alsace region that's sometimes difficult to be short. You can see I cannot make some short words. I have so many things to explain about our wines, our terroir, our grape varieties. So imagine our region is very thin, only 3 or 4 kilometers thin, but 100 miles long. And on this, you have 14 different terroirs. So in the world, you have 16 different terroirs. in Alsace region, you can find 14 of them. And that's probably the thing that's why Alsace region is a prestigious region. I'm sure someone in the world, in the world, all taste buds can appreciate an Alsace wine. Which one? We don't know, but 7 great varieties with these kind of terroir, our know-how, our culture, and so many Grand Cru, 51 different Grand Cru, only 4 great varieties allowed on Grand Cru. We cannot put Pinot Noir on Grand Cru. You can put it, but you cannot tell it on the label. So many things to say in the smallest wine region of France. Imagine we represent only 1% of the French vineyard.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
1% of the French vineyard.
I drink a lot of Alsatian wine, so in my head I thought it was more.
But in the same time, Alsace region, Alsace wine, Alsace dishes, culture, it's pretty renowned, of course, because our culture is a bit different than our neighbors, French.
Right.
all Alsace people are at first Alsatian and in the same time French.
Right. All right. So I think our power hour lunch is about over.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry if I took too much time for explain my thoughts, my enthusiasm, but
I enjoyed it.
Unfortunately, I love my wines and my job.
Good. That's very good and very fortunate for us to absorb all of this information. And I want more, but we just don't have we'll have to do another power lunch.
I think we should have. And anyway, November the 8th, the travel ban is gone logically, so I will be in the US soon.
Perfect.
I have to anyway. All my clients, I miss them. I have to bring my support, and I will probably go for summertime if it's still open for summertime. 3 weeks with the family to go in the US once again.
Well, then on that, I look forward to meeting you in person.
In the real life, of course, with pleasure.
I very much look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
The Lunch with Alsace series will continue in November and December. Follow Drink Alsace on Instagram for more. Thank you, David, for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much for your kindness and to make this point of Alsace wine and of our wines, and thank you anyway.
Our pleasure. We'll see you soon. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you for all people are watching us, and I hope my explanation were clear enough.
Definitely. All right. Enjoy the rest
Thank
of
you
your
so
day.
much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.